So last week, I was way too hungover for us to end up podcasting, which sucks because we were actually in the same location. But we definitely did not podcast, so we are back today. But before we get started, we actually talked when we were in person last week about these noises that we make, and you gave it a name. Was it AMSR?
Oh, ASMR.
Oh,
No, no,
give us a quick 20-second snapshot of that.
it's just like noises that make you get the chills and relax you and put you to sleep, essentially. So, like whispers and like scratches.
You know, the worst part about this is because I actually was telling you, I'm like, you know what? I think we're doing that for our audience. Every single episode, we pop the can open and they hear that. And I think we're pleasing a lot of people. But guess what? We're not drinking today. So we just lost like half our audience. So let's get loaded without the noise because this is the Loaded Box Podcast.
Where we never finish first because we finish last.
Oh, welcome back to the Loaded Box Podcast. I am Ben Morgan. That is DJ Primo. And not only am I Ben Morgan, but I am also sorry for letting you all down last week. DJ was pissed at me. He wanted to watch Game of Thrones and then just have me answer random questions and everything about it. But man, that I slept till 1:30 p.m. Podcasting was not in my foreseeable future as of last Sunday. I'm sorry. I have to apologize.
I was so pissed at this guy because I was trying to get so many people to golf with me, and I knew he was coming. And I was like, dude, can you leave at like 11 so you can get here at 1 and we can go golfing? And no response all day. And I'm like, what, is this kid dead? So I just went and did something else. I get a text at 1:30 saying I just woke up. I thought he was just ignoring me up to that point. Jesus Christ.
Nope, that was real life. That was terrible. But we're back. It's a brand new day. Clear mind, clear head, clear something.
Clear eyes,
And
full hearts can't lose.
that's what I meant to say. But as you know, DJ, Vegas always releases updated over-under win totals real shortly after the NFL draft so that degenerates like us can talk about them, can submit our bets, basically just do what we love to do when it comes to the NFL. So in this episode, we'll be going through each team in the AFC, letting you know if we would bet the over or bet the under or what our feelings are on their current win total. And then we'll actually be doing the same thing in our next episode, and that one will be obviously about the NFC. So let's kick this puppy off. You ready?
I'm ready as I'm going to be.
All right, let's start in the AFC East. The New England Patriots, the team that always wins the division every single year, their total is set at 11. What are you feeling here?
All right, I'm going under on the Patriots. This is it. I'm calling it. My one and only shot. If you had one shot, one opportunity, a lifetime, would you capture it or let it slip? I'm capturing it right now. I've never been this guy. I've always stayed away from being this guy, but I'm doing it. The Patriots' reign is over, and they're about to go on a drought they never saw coming. This team will not win a Super Bowl for at least 20 years, starting this year. I'm calling it. This is my shot.
Dude, I think all you did there was solidify they win 4 of the next 5. That's what happens.
No, I'm doing it. I'm finally taking my shot. This is it. There's no Gronk. The wide receiver core stinks. Defense isn't great. Tom Brady can win with scheme, but I think the scheme won't even hide how old his arm is and how talentless this team is offensively.
I know we're going to talk about the Dolphins, Bills, and Jets, but so
Yep.
you're telling me the run's over. Does that mean the run of them competing for Super Bowls is over, or are they not going to win the division?
No, they may win the division
Okay.
still, but the Jets are good, and the Jets, I'm going to talk about them. Jets are good. The Bills are a little bit better, but Josh Rosen is my surprise player for 2019.
Oh my gosh, I feel like we just like switched bodies. Like, folks, just so you're hearing, I said folks, that sounded funny. But DJ is the one talking about the Dolphins right now. That just, I wanted to make sure you all knew that. Whoa.
We're talking about Josh Rosen.
All right, so that number is at 11, I said. All right, so the way I do this, as you know, if you've listened to our podcast before where we go and we talk about actual predictions, I go through every single game on the schedule. That's what I've been doing for the last 2 days, and my eyes are bleeding because I've just been diagnosing schedules and going through them all. I've got the Patriots going 10-6. So according to that, I have to go under as well. I am going to let you know, though, there are certain things that I'm going to give you the caution saying I'm not comfortable enough in this to bet it. And this is one of them. So while I am going under for the podcast's sake, I am telling you do not bet this, though. The weird thing is when I was going through the Patriots schedule, I had them winning like their last few games as well to even get to this mark. So I had them not quite 500 for a while, but closer to 500 than they've been in like recent history. But I'm kind of with you. I see the Jets improving. I see the Bills improving. I don't want to talk too much about the Dolphins yet, just because we're going to get there. But I still have New England winning the division. I think 11 is a really, really good number set by Vegas here. I'm not going to bet it, but if I have to pick one, because I know you're going to make me, I have to go under as well.
I'll just glance at the schedule. Not too tough. It's kind of disappointing.
Still going to stick with
your NFC East this year. They face Baltimore. Yeah, I mean, it's good. Washington. Could be a little more than I wanted them to, but still, this is the downfall. This is the year.
Sticking under. All right, let's go on to the next team with the second highest win total projected by Las Vegas in the AFC East. It is the New York Jets. They are set at 7.5. What do you have here?
I'm going over on them. I might actually, when I do my predictions, which I don't do till like August. I don't know why you're doing them so fucking early.
I do them twice.
Okay, so I don't do mine till like August, because we do a podcast on it, for Christ's sake. So I may predict them to win the division this year. With Sam Darnold, he's legit, I think. Adding Le'Veon Bell, I mean, their wide receiver core isn't amazing, but they still have, what's his name, that felon?
Robbie Anderson.
And the defense is pretty solid. So, this is a good team, and they can win a lot of games. I would smash this over. This is one I would bet. I would smash this over. I could see them winning the division this year. And again, they should beat Buffalo twice and probably beat Miami both times too. But and I say them splitting with New England. And like I said, I look at the schedule for the AFC East, and it's just not that difficult. They could easily win that division in my eyes.
Remember when the Jets were actually competing for Super Bowls when they had Sanchez at quarterback? That offense never like overwhelmed you. It was always a very strong defense, and then they just did enough to get done. Well, I think Darnold's better than that. They brought in Le'Veon Bell. You mentioned Rodney Anderson. They have a couple of decent skill players. I wish they would have done more to surround like the bringing in Le'Veon Bell, because that does seem like almost like a win now move. So I wish they would have done more to surround Darnold with that. But man, that defense is getting back on track. You see him take Quinnen Williams early. They bring in C.J. Mosley. They've been drafting defensive heavy the last couple of years, adding guys like Marcus May. They added Ja'Kai Polite, I believe, in the second or third round. Who knows what we're going to get there? But they're trying to almost get back to like their core, which is kind of opposite of the way that Adam Gase was doing it when he was with the Dolphins. He was actually trying to bring in like a couple of players to like fit his scheme, and then the defense just sort of seemed like whatever. Well, he's kind of like, well, that didn't work. I'm going to bring in a couple of these guys, bring in that Le'Veon Bell, and then I'm going to just focus in on that defense, and hopefully the offense can catch on. But I'll finish it right here. I've got them going 7-9. I literally don't. My projection is technically under. So I guess that's where I'm going to have to land. But this is another one where I would say no bet.
They have Jamal Adams and Marcus May. They added Tremaine Johnson. They've got Quinnen Williams and Leonard Williams on the defensive line. C.J. Mosley. This defense.
It's a nasty defense.
Is a wrecking crew.
Yeah.
Like, they might be the Ravens of this year defensively, but with a much better offense and quarterback.
Right.
And then you have Le'Veon Bell on top of that. They could be dirty. Let's see how good Quincy Enunwa and Robbie Anderson are, but I guess they could have added. They needed to add like that. I feel like, I don't know. Just Robbie Anderson's good, but he just doesn't like.
He doesn't quite do it for you, right?
Yeah, he just doesn't do it for me. You got Jamison Crowder, who I know you always have a man crush on, though.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I kind of like that, and I kind of like that in an Adam Gase system too, because he's going to try to get rid of the ball quick.
I forgot about Adam Gase.
So that's going to kind of hurt you a little bit, is having Adam Gase.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell's never going to get the ball.
No, they'll throw it to him. It'll be fine.
We'll see. But he'll only play him only on third downs if he plays him like Kenyon Drake.
That is true. The days of Le'Veon Bell getting 400 touches are probably numbered. We're not going to see that quite as often as what used to.
Adam Gase.
Let's move on to the Bills. Vegas has their win total set at 6.5. What do you have here?
What do I have? I said I'm going under for the Bills. I know people. I don't know. I listened to some podcasts with some guys from like Sports Illustrated saying like, it was Mel Kiper talking about Josh Allen like he was correct on saying he was going to be a good quarterback after 1 year of below averageness. I'm
I
really
know.
confused. And a guy who just ran around a lot, like that was like his best attribute. So I was really confused at how he was like rewarding himself for a guy who didn't even play well. But I think they lose both the Jets, Pats both times, and split with the Dolphins. It's just not enough there for me. The Bills don't feel like a good enough team. I don't know. Is LaShawn McCoy? I just saw lots of word of LaShawn McCoy potentially getting released. Who
Well,
knows?
well, that's the thing. They brought in like 900 other running backs, so like it wouldn't
Yeah,
totally shock me if they did. I'm interested to see where you go with this Dolphins one because right away you're like Josh Rosen's my guy.
yeah.
Surprise, surprise. And now all of a sudden you're like, well, I think the Patriots will sweep them, the Jets will sweep them, they'll split with the Bills. I feel like you're not giving the Dolphins any wins.
Well, the other teams they can beat though. It's they only play. It's not like they only play their division, but they could. I don't know what's gonna happen. They're not gonna lose. The Dolphins wouldn't lose both to the Bills. The Bills could fucking get swept by the whole entire AFC East for Christ's sake. I just don't think. I think they're the worst team in this division. I don't think Josh Allen is good. I'm not backing off this Josh Allen from last year in our predictions. He's just not accurate. He's not very good. He relied so much on running. I don't think he can read secondaries. I think they have a terrible year.
This is the first one I think that we're gonna disagree on because I had them projected at 8-8. So obviously going over, and this is one I would say, yeah, bet the over. I see this as a race between the Bills and Jets for second place in that division behind the Patriots. And the nice thing here, they don't even have to hit 500 for them to hit this over. They have another game and a half to play with before they even get to 8. This is going to be a big year for Josh Allen. I'm not saying statistically, I'm saying it's a big year because he did prove it with his legs, but you don't care about that. That's a nice additional attribute and thing that you can contribute with, but he needs to get it done with his arm. Like that's going to be the big thing that we're going to be looking for from the Bills this year. That's pretty much, they know they're not in a position to compete right now, but what they need to do is find out where they are with Josh Allen. Is he going to be able to be the guy? The thing about the Bills, I don't mind
Who are
their
their wide
defense.
receivers?
Well, that's the thing. Like they don't have those standout playmakers on offense. They added like, it seems like they added like short speed guys, like the guys like John Brown. Like they added that to go with guys like Zay Jones. So it's almost like they're in the same sort of rebuild process that the Jets are in, where they don't have like all out skill players yet. And it's just going to be hard for a guy like Josh Allen to really see what you have with him because they
Oh
haven't
my god.
surrounded him with the most amount of talent. I don't know. I like the team enough where, like you said, they don't even need to be 500 and they hit this over 6.5. I think is just a little bit too low. So the Bills are like the first team I'm going to say, yep, drop a little bit of cash on them. I would be comfortable in the Bills over on this one.
I mean, I'm just looking at this roster and it's just trash. I thought Frank Gore retired by now.
Frank Gore will never die.
They've got TJ Yeldon. You said they added some guys at running back, so they got Frank Gore, TJ Yeldon, drafted one. Cole Beasley was another wide receiver they got.
Yeah, they just drafted a bunch of added a bunch of short receivers.
I mean, this is exactly what the Dolphins did at wide receiver last year, and it didn't work.
It's almost like you thought Adam Gase went to Buffalo.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It's just, I look at this roster and it's garbage. Tyler Kroft is their tight end. Give me a fucking break. Like, come on.
Well, I'm excited to hear what you say about this next team because it's the Miami Dolphins and Vegas has them at 5 wins.
Let me get to my little spreadsheet here. Just kidding, not a spreadsheet. I have the Dolphins over 5 wins. I said my guy Josh Rosen will shock the world this year. He's out for vengeance. He's got that Aaron Rodgers swag. I would hammer this over. Like I would smash button this over. Josh Rosen's going to win some games. He's going to play better than you think, and he's going to come out here and he's going to light it up. I know he doesn't have much for wide receivers, but Kenyon Drake is going to be used probably much more like he should have been last year. I don't even know who your wide receivers are anymore. Devontae Parker, I guess that's about it. They just signed Xavier Howard to a huge deal, so at least you got a nice cornerback out there. You got that safety, right, Rashad? I don't know. I think that Josh Rosen's going to be a lot better than what people expect him to be. And honestly, there's not anybody in the league right now that I'm cheering for harder than Josh Rosen after the way the Cardinals fucked everything up. So I'm cheering against the Cardinals so hard and for Josh Rosen so hard.
Well, I'm happy to hear that you're a little bit on my side for like the first time in our entire history of knowing each other. This is the first time it feels like you're kind of pulling for the Dolphins. So I'm not
Mhm.
gonna fight you too hard on that. But when I went through, I only gave the Dolphins 4 wins. I like what they're doing. Like you said, they have got some decent young pieces in play right now. It's just not quite there yet, and it's what it's going to come down to for me right now. That offensive line just still has way too many question marks. You're likely going to have a rookie at left guard. You're going to have a guy who missed most of the year at center. You're going to have a guy they just brought in last week in Jordan Mills at right tackle. And then you're not even sure who's going to play right guard yet. And if there's one thing Rosen's probably used to, it's evading people in the pocket. I've been watching a little film on Josh Rosen. He was running for his life last year. That Arizona Cardinals offensive line was trash. So is he going to a little bit better of an offensive line? Maybe. But I still think that's going to hold this team back some. But yeah, they've got a couple of decent pieces there. I just see that win total of 5, and I say, don't bet it because the Dolphins are kind of always that team that they just kind of come out in that like they're continually between like 6 to 9 wins. Like that's just where they live. That is
There you go.
literally where they live. I still think this is year one of a true rebuild. I'm cheering for Rosen. I want him to be the guy so they don't have to invest in a quarterback next year or in 2021. I get that. I like Josh Rosen. I just don't think it's there right now. So
And
this pains me. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I'm going to go under.
I'm just looking at their now. I'm looking at it. I forgot about Mike Gesicki in his second year as tight end, so that could be his little comfort guy there. They added Bryce Butler this year. They still have Kenny Stills, so it's not terrible. It's not great.
They have a bunch of just average guys at wide receiver. I'm not gonna lie. You mentioned Gesicki. I liked him. He's like an athletic freak. He was the
Yeah.
guy. They never featured him once last year. Like they never even tried to. So it'll be interesting to see how Rosen kind of deals with him. Yeah. And then they got it's Parker. It's a guy like Bryce Butler. Albert Wilson will be back. Albert Wilson was a pretty dynamic playmaker. I really like him, but I just don't think those are the guys that are going to put you over. But it's an interesting division just because of how like all 3 teams besides New England are trying to rebuild so that they can be the team for when Brady retires. It's just going to be a race to see who does it the best.
It's Josh Rosen time. I'm telling you, that's the one person I'm betting on to get him over these 5 wins.
I like it. Well, let's move over to the AFC West. We have the Vegas has the Kansas City Chiefs at 10.5 wins. What do you have here?
This is another one I would hammer. I'm going way under. Way under.
Way?
Yeah, way under. And by way under, I mean like 8-8, like 500.
Woo.
And I feel like that's way under because I mean 2 wins is a huge difference. No Hunt, more than likely no Hill. Although I don't know how he hasn't been released or just kicked out of the NFL and out of the United States of America by now. They didn't improve at all in the secondary, in my opinion. And this team, if you look at them on paper, they actually stink. Like, this is that Mahomes magic that everyone thinks he has, I think turns into more Deshaun Watson at the beginning of last year. I think you're going to see huge regression from Patrick Mahomes. Huge. And I think it'll be, like I said, 500. A huge fall for the Chiefs. They just don't, they lost. They're losing 2 guys to just being assholes. Like, Karma has to come around eventually, too, for that team, right?
Right. Karma
So
has to
I don't
come
know.
back.
I just don't. You look at this team on paper, and I don't think they're going to be able to score anywhere near what they did, and I think they're going to give up just as many points, if not more, than they did last year.
You said the R word with Kansas City, and that's clearly regression.
Yeah.
That is the thing that comes to my mind with you. So I'm with you on here. I'm going to go under. However, when I went through every single game, I had them going 10-6. So this feels pretty ballsy. So I'm not too confident in the bet. But yeah, if I'm going to bet here, I'm going to go under. There's so much uncertainty regarding that Tyreek Hill situation. If he doesn't play, what sort of consistency do they have as offensive actual players outside of a guy like Travis Kelce? Like, none of those guys have proven to do it in Kansas City. And I love Sammy Watkins. Like, I love Sammy Watkins.
For some reason.
Has he ever had a fully healthy season? Like, I'm not blind to the fact that he's never been able to do that, at least. I like some of the moves they've made on defense. You criticized their secondary. They did bring in the Honey Badger. Who knows exactly what he's going to be able to provide to this. They added Frank Clark to play edge. I don't mind that move. Gosh, I would lean under here, just not super confident since, like, according to my predictions. I only have a half game to play with, but yeah, regression could be the word of the day in Kansas City.
Dude, they have to play the Packers. They have to play the NFC North. So they got the Packers
That's
in Green
tough.
Bay, Minnesota in Minnesota. They have to play the Bears then at home. They have the Colts they have to face up against. Like, they have the Jaguars, whose defense is good. Chargers twice. Patriots they have to play.
Do you think? I know that you're not like a big fan of taking a quarterback early in fantasy drafts, and I know a lot of our listeners are fantasy like focused and really love fantasy. But Mahomes is like the clear cut like QB1 right now, and he's like ADP like late second, early third. Like, is that going to be like one of the biggest mistakes people make in fantasy this year?
Yes, 100%. You can't. With the weapons that he's lost, the fact that he only has Kelsey, Sammy Watkins, is going to be injured constantly. His foot will fall off at some point. Like, he just doesn't have the guys there anymore. If Tyreek Hill isn't going to be there, he just isn't. Let's be honest. He's seriously not going to be there. He's not going to play on this team. Probably won't play in the NFL anymore. He's not a guy who should be in the NFL. So he has no weapon. Who's their running back right now? That fucking old Dolphin.
They had Damian Williams, and then they also brought in was it Carlos Hyde?
Yeah. So I just don't. There's not enough there. And again, getting these NFL defenses getting tape on a guy after a year after the first year, that's where you see that natural regression anyway. You think that's like a cliche thing to say, but it's not. It happens every year. It happened to Sean Watson. It may happen to like a guy like Baker Mayfield. It just happens. Defenses catch up, and then if you're a good quarterback, you adjust. I just think with the talent that he doesn't have around him, he's going to struggle. And with how bad that fucking defense is, it's going to be like score fest in Kansas City.
You leave my boy Baker out of this. We're gonna get to Baker in a little bit.
I'm just saying. I'm not bashing him. I'm just giving him as part of an example.
I know what you're doing. You're setting me up to get angry at you later. Let's go to the team that Vegas has second in the AFC West, and that's the LA Chargers at 9.5 wins.
I mean, this one's to me easy. I mean, they win this division. I go over easily. I think they win this division. There's so much talent, both offensively and defensively, that I know you're going to talk about, so I'm not going to steal it. I'm just going to keep it short. Seems like they should be one of the best teams in the NFL every year, and especially this year. They should win this division, and I don't think they should have much challenge doing it.
Yeah, I had them going 11-5, so I love this. I would definitely advise you to bet the over. This is actually my second favorite bet in the AFC. We'll get to my first here in a little bit, but Chargers are definitely on top of ones that I would say, yep, go out and do this. I see them taking the division. I love the offensive skill players, especially if a guy like Hunter Henry can stay healthy. Remember last year, we're like, dude, this offense is finally here. Healthy Keenan Allen, healthy Melvin Gordon. Mike Williams is in the fold. We got Hunter Henry. And then Hunter Henry just goes down, and you're like, all right, they can live, they can keep doing this, but like that was an added dimension that like he was going to be like that next like top 5 tight end. Like he was the guy. So hopefully he can stay healthy. But man, I like the defense, those edge rushers. You finally have a healthy Joey Bosa going into the start of the season. You pair last year's stud rookie Derwin James with Nasir Adderley in this year's draft at safety. I don't think that you're going to have to see the Chargers in these late game situations. Remember the last 5 years? It was always like, well, Chargers are in the game. It's coming down to the last drive. The Phillip Rivers is going to have to bail them out again. I think the defense has gotten to the point they don't need to worry about him doing that anymore. And that's going to be a blessing for Phillip Rivers at this point in his career. I like him winning the division. I've got him at 11 wins. Second favorite team right now, according to Vegas over-under for me in the AFC.
I mean, they have 2 number 1 wide receivers, essentially, now, with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, honestly. And then they add Hunter Henry, who could be a top 5 tight end.
Yeah.
That's just not even fair. And then you don't even remember that they have fucking Melvin Gordon in the backfield.
I know. It's ridiculous. And the offensive line seems to continue to get better as well. So it's a complete team. I really like the Chargers.
Offensive line was the little bit of the downfall, though, as the year went on last year at the end. So that's probably the one place they really need to shore up.
Yeah, hopefully they can get that done. But yeah, I think we're both pounding over there. Let's go on to Denver. Vegas has them at 7.
Under. Joe Flacco stinks. That is all.
You should have warned me about that. I took a drink of my non-alcoholic water right before you said that, and I almost spit it all over this laptop.
Joe Flacco just sucks.
That's it, huh? So this is funny because when I was going through these, and I was going to touch on this, but at what point in the season, if they struggle, At what point is this Drew Lock's team? Like, set the over under at 6. When does he
Yeah,
make his first start? Over under week 6.
I don't know, but it still doesn't change my under. Like
That's
if
true.
anything, they're even further under. I mean, maybe not further, but it's just as easily under there.
Yeah, I end up having them going 5-11, so I'm with you on that one. I would. It's not like one of my favorite bets, but yeah, I'm still probably taking the under here. I got them 2 wins, which doesn't sound like a lot, but like you said, 2 wins in this betting world is a lot. It really is. We already talked about locks. I won't say too much more about that, but there's so many question marks right now on this team. I like what they're. I like the defense with Bradley Chubb, with Von Miller. Hopefully they can get this Chris Harris situation figured out. But yeah, it just like you said in our draft review podcast, it was like, are they kind of just settling right now with what falls to them? Like, where are they? I don't really know where they are. And this division, like, if the Chiefs do what they did last year, anywhere close to it, with how complete the Chargers are, I just don't think they're going to be relevant at this time. So let's just both say under, and let's move on to Oakland. Oakland's at 6 wins. What do you got with them?
I'm going to have to go over here, even though
Oh,
I
oh,
hate.
oh, oh, like the
Even though
least Oakland supporter of all
what?
time. You're gonna go over.
Even though I hate fucking John Gruden,
Oh,
hate him
shout
with
out to John Gruden, by the way, newest fan of the podcast.
yeah. The offense has a ton of talent. Obviously, they drafted Josh Jacobs. They added Antonio Brown. I mean, that's a ton of talent.
Tyrell
So
Williams, yep.
yeah, exactly. But they also added a safety in the draft, pass rusher, corner, all those great spots, and that's what they needed to do. They needed to add at those spots. I think they will win a few games with that talent that we just don't expect them to win. And I think that's where they're going to get most people who are going to probably bet the under. I think they're going to get you on those few games because they have so much talent that they just come out and bust out in like a 40-point scoring game.
Yeah. Man, Vegas win total. Vegas win total set at 6. I projected them at 5. They're not one that I would really bet, but for podcast sake, I have to go under. You got to believe in the homework that you do, and that's what I'm doing here. I saw this line at 6 before I started going through the predictions. Thought it would be not an easy over, but I thought I'd go over for sure. Then I went by the game by game, only gave him 5. So I'm going to stick with the under. All the weapons you said, AB, Tyrell Williams, adding Josh Jackson. I love that. I still think there are some question marks on the defense, though. They address some important positions in the draft. I get that. But the thing is, for how much I like Cleveland Farrell, it is so hard for a rookie edge rusher to just come in and instantly be like a sack producer. It takes a couple of years to really like hone your craft and actually develop multiple moves and be able to get around like elite left and right tackles. Like, you don't just step in. There's guys like J.J. Watt who have had success, and there's a couple other that just are escaping my mind right now. But more often than not, you're into like at least year 2, year 3 by the time that you're like a consistent um, threat to even get close to double digit sacks. So while I like the move, I like adding Farrell, I don't think it's there yet. I'm gonna have to stick with under right now on the Raiders, which I feel this is weird. I feel like you were gonna easily go under there with your just hatred to everyone on the Raiders outside of Derek Carr.
Yeah, I like Derek Carr, but yeah, I don't know. Like here's the first game that they'll win. That's gonna surprise you. Week number 5, Chicago at home. They'll win that game.
Wow, look at this
Yeah,
bold predictions for Week 5 in the NFL.
calling it right now. Locking it.
Before we move on to the AFC North, let's talk real quick about Pristine Auction because we finally gave away our Alvin Kamara mini helmet last week. Congrats to Travis Guerrero, who won the helmet after his assigned contestant won our beer chugging contest on Twitter Live, which determined the winner. If that sounds at all confusing, or even if it sounds interesting, make sure you go back through our Twitter feed at Loaded Box. Check out that Twitter Live video. We recorded live from Neyland Stadium, which is where the Tennessee Volunteers play their home games. We picked out some semifinalists from our competition, everyone that got qualified for the Alvin Kamara mini helmet. We assigned them a random person in a beer chugging contest, and the person who was drinking for Travis finished his beer in literally like a second. He just pounded that beer. It was impressive, even by Loaded Box standards. So you be sure to check that out on Twitter, and then also head over to pristineauction.com for all of your man cave needs. Free to sign up, free to bid. You only pay when you win. And be sure to mention the Loaded Box podcast in the How Did You Hear About Us section as well. But definitely check them out, pristineauction.com today. DJ, with that, let's head over to the AFC North. You already talked about my boy Baker. Vegas has Cleveland's win total set at 9. How are you feeling about this?
I hate holidays, man. I just hate them.
Is Mother's Day a real holiday?
I don't know, like, everybody, like, the worst thing about holidays is the social media, and everybody's like, oh, I have to go on and make the best post about this person. Like,
oh, yeah.
I just don't care. I don't. Like, oh, I'll say whatever my wife and buy her a present for being a mom. I won't put a post on Facebook and then tag them and put this whole long extravagant thing because it's just over. It's ridiculous. What is it? What does that even do for somebody's? Like, I don't get it. Like, oh, I have the best mom, and it's like everybody trying to up everybody else's posts on Twitter and Facebook, and I want to literally kill myself throughout the entire day.
So here's the thing, though, with that is it almost like a damned if you do, damned if you don't? Because if you do put a post like that, you know in the back of your head, me and a bunch of our other buddies are probably going to give you shit. Whereas if you don't do it, is your wife going to be like, oh, I wish my husband loved me enough to dibba-dibba-doo?
She might think that like the inside, but she knows the standard that I've set is I'm not going to say shit on birthdays or Mother's Day or anything, and I don't want anybody to do it for me because it's just going to piss me off. Like, I don't want that to happen.
So that's the daddy advice from DJ I've been wanting forever. It's set the bar low early.
It's a standard. It's like, I'll do stuff for you, but I'm not going to post about it on social media. I'm just not going to.
I love it. I don't know where that came from, but I'm so glad that it came up.
Because I'm looking at social media right now. It's so annoying. That's all I have to see. It's like, I just want to watch Game of Thrones, and Aaron Rodgers is going to be on it tonight, and it's going to be great.
Let's talk about Baker Mayfield right now. We'll get to the NFC next week.
All right, so you're going to like this.
Uh-oh.
I'm going over. I don't want to bet this, and I'm not going to. But if I have to choose one, I guess that I'm going to go over. But there's so much hype around the Bods. The what? There's so much
Made
hype
up your own team there.
There's so much hype around the Browns that makes me nervous. It's
Yep.
not like Vegas doesn't see this. It's not like they don't know that the hype is there. Odds makers know this. So when I see this number, I get scared.
Me
You
too.
want to know why?
Hashtag.
You want to know why? Because people are too comfortable betting the Browns, and that should make them uncomfortable.
Yep. Absolutely.
That would make me want to bet the under. So I would say over, but I'd probably bet the under because there's too much comfortability around it. So take for that what you make of it.
Isn't that amazing though? Like there is so much hype, and everyone's like team to jump on right now is the Browns, and Vegas set them under double digits. It's like it's screaming for you to take it.
Exactly. If I could bet the push, I would.
You should get bigger payouts for that.
Great odds on that.
Vegas set them at 9. I ended up having them at 11 wins. I guess I would bet the over. It's probably my third favorite bet in the AFC, but everything you said, it feels so right that it can't be. Like Vegas knows something.
I'm not comfortable. I'm uncomfortable, and that's too comfortable for me.
Yeah, it is. I love that wording. Like I want a T-shirt that just explains what you say when you say that.
We should actually. That should be one of our shirts, along with like No Shirt Sunday, which wouldn't make sense because you're not supposed to wear a shirt. So maybe it should be like shorts or something. But yeah, those are a couple of things we could make.
and drunkies and stumbly shirts. Like we have this.
Yeah.
We have
some sayings we could put down.
Let's get loaded.
Why so many? I never even realized how much ammo we have for like apparel if we wanted to make it.
Stay tuned to loadedboxpodcast.com. We'll be dropping merchandise next week.
Here comes the merch, baby. My famous one is going to be not comfortable unless I'm uncomfortable.
That is such a fantastic. And I actually I thought that was going to be number 1, but No Shirt Sunday, that's pretty good. You need to do a little bit more brainstorming to really bring it together, but we can do it.
I just made that a tattoo on my back.
That's so fantastic. I never thought I'd see this happening, but after my predictions, I actually have the Browns winning the division. That felt funny. That offense, like on paper, you just look at it on paper. It's Baker, it's Odell, it's the set of running backs they have. It's Jarvis Landry, it's David Njoku. It just screams, I'm going to be a top 5 offense. And then there's the defense. They continue to improve. You have another year of Denzel Ward. You've got another year of Myles Garrett leading the way. really, really, really like the Browns. Like, I'm a Dolphins fan. I'm cheering for them to just kind of do whatever. I almost want the Browns just to be the team this year. But everything you said, it's look. You look at 9, you're like, how is that number not 10? So it's like, yeah, I'd bet the over here, but I wouldn't make it like, let's bet the mortgage on this puppy. Like it's not one of those bets. I don't think you can do it.
Yep.
Thanks.
That's
Let's go to the next team in the North. It's the Steelers, who are also at 9.
all right. With the Steelers, I'm going to go under, and this is why. The schedule to me just seems tough as balls when I was looking through it.
Mm-hmm.
And the talent there is kind of leaking out, right? They're losing guys left and right. There's too much in-house drama, and it seems to me as if Mike Tomlin is like Mike McCarthy. Like, now that Mike McCarthy's gone, Mike Tomlin's that guy, the guy that the team hangs on to for too long, and there's just bad blood. I mean, there's clearly drama inside the locker room, and it's probably because Tomlin and Roethlisberger have just been there too long, and they think they're that like this great pair of people. But I just feel bad years coming out of these guys. Like, I feel like the Packers had their terrible year last year. I feel like that's the Steelers coming this year.
That's the thing. It almost seems like coaches do have like a shelf life. Like
Yeah.
McCarthy had his time, like, and he was one of the longer tenured guys.
Yep.
And I think like Belichick is like this over here as like this terrible outlier. You got these other guys like 5 to 8 years is about your run, and then it's like you don't want to hit reset and like
It's stale.
change thing up. It just happens. It's
If
literally
they aren't willing to change their philosophies, like McCarthy wasn't and Tomlin isn't, then it just doesn't work anymore.
Absolutely.
That's why Belichick is better. I don't understand why people don't change. That's why Belichick has been better, because he changes with what he has.
And he's done it multiple times, which makes it even more impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to go under. I've got them at only 7 wins. I did our power rankings article that can be found on loadedboxpodcast.com, ranked all the teams 1 through 32. I said that the Steelers are the toughest team to predict this year. Just basically because how different they're going to look. We got so used to seeing the 3 Bs, and now it's just B. Like it's gonna be tough. Like I really feel like this team might max out at like 8 wins. I think 9's gonna be a tough number. I think worst case scenario here, you're gonna push. The defense just isn't great. You lost to some guys on offense. Can James Conner and Juju Smith-Schuster really just jump in and provide that kind of consistency that we saw from Antonio Brown, from Le'Veon Bell? I just don't know if we can do it. I think it's going to be an up and down year for Pittsburgh, where one week things are just clicking and Conner goes for $125 and Juju Smith Schuster scores 2 touchdowns, and then the next week you're going to see Roethlisberger throw like 3 or 4 picks, and then they're not going to get the game going. I think it's going to be a lot of up and downs for them, just too inconsistent. I think that they can max out at 8-9 wins, and for that, I'm taking under here.
This year we can call them the BJs because they're going to blow.
Baltimore, 8.5.
All right. This one's another easy one for me. I'm going under with this team because this is another team with a quarterback I fucking hate. Seriously, Lamar Jackson's trash. He's fucking garbage. This team will struggle to score points. I predict, this is my prediction for the Ravens this year. I think they're going to be the lowest scoring offense in the last 20 years in a league where the points come easier than they ever have before.
Doesn't that just make you mad? Like, that pisses me off. Like, as a Dolphins fan, I'm like, you got all these teams like averaging 30 points per game wasn't a thing years ago. Now you've got a handful of teams that are doing it on a consistent basis. So yeah, you're saying low scoring output for the Ravens, huh?
Yes, I don't think they're going to score in this league. They're scoring too much, so I don't think they're going to be winning many games.
This is another team where I saw the win total at 8.5, and I'm like, yep, that's beautiful. They're tapped out at 8 wins. I'm going to go under. I went through it, and I gave them 10 wins, DJ.
I know, I saw that.
I gave them 10 wins. But yeah, I'm not going to bet it just because I'm with you, and every single thing that you said, I can't get behind this team going above 500 right now. It comes down to that quarterback, and it's me not having any faith in Lamar Jackson. I think I gave them 10 wins primarily due to the defense. And I feel like when I went through the games, the schedule just played out where it wasn't like a terribly difficult schedule.
Nope.
But one advantage Jackson gives you is that playmaking with his legs. And while that will score some points and it'll likely give them a win or two here and there, here's the kicker. in games that he's going to be asked to get it done with his arm, that's going to end up costing them a couple of games as well. So what the
Yeah.
advantages that you get by him being able to add that element with his legs, that's going to come back to haunt you more than it's going to end up helping you, just because you're asked to do so much more than just run when you're the quarterback. And you were the king of this last year. It was like, tapes out on Deshaun Watson, tread lightly. Well, guess what? There's a little tape on Lamar Jackson right now. Defenses have had an entire offseason to plan and say, you know what, even this guy, even if he improves a little bit as an actual passer, he's still going to revert to like getting it done on the ground. And defenses, we're seeing it happen. As these offenses are scoring more and more points, teams are looking to get so much more athletic on defense. And that's exactly what these teams are doing as well. We're having linebackers and defensive ends run like 4.5 40s. Like that just wasn't a thing back in the day. So these advantages that these fast quarterbacks have is going to end up getting neutralized just because of how the defenses are also evolving. So yeah, I got him at 10 wins. It just doesn't feel right. So don't bet it. Just don't bet.
Defenses figured out Lamar Jackson last year.
Right. Yeah.
Like within a few games, you could see that it was just like, oh shit, this guy is going to fucking you could just see it like going downhill increasingly every game. Like I remember saying a million times last year, like he's about to like throw 5 interceptions and have 4 fumbles in a game because you could just see it. He's just not comfortable. Just didn't look comfortable out there, and guys were just all over him.
Right. And the thing is too, like I like the idea of pairing Mark Ingram with them. Like if you can get a legit run game going, that's fine. But still, it's like, man, I just don't see him being able to do enough with his arm to warrant that many wins. So going under. Let's go to the last team in the North. It's the Bengals. Vegas has their win total set at 6.
So I'm going to go against the grain here. I'm going to say over because I've just said like multiple teams under, and not every team in the division can be horrible, even though they're not going to be great. But I just look at their offense, and they actually do have so much talent offensively. And if they can stay healthy, they can win some games. Obviously, defensively, they can struggle, but offensive line did clearly improve last year after I thought they would. Joe Mixon was very solid. AJ Green, Tyler Boyd was 10 times better than he had been.
Right.
They have talent offensively. I don't know. Tyler Eifert's got another 1-year deal, so who knows if he'll step on the field ever, though. But I just think somebody has to be a surprise team somewhere, and I've got somebody, like, if I have the Steelers being worse and the Ravens being worse, I have to think that the Bengals can beat those teams
right.
once, at least once. So I'm going to go. I don't like it, and I'm not diagnosing their schedule right now. But maybe sometimes it's the better thing that I'm not looking at every schedule because I want to go with my gut of how I feel they're going to be. I'm going to go over if they can stay healthy.
Man, I predicted them to go 4-12. But this is another one where I have to say under just because of that, but I don't want to bet on it, despite the fact that that's 2 games lower than the Vegas total. But I feel like every single year, you and I, we go through the schedule, we do our predictions. Every single year, I feel like I'm super low on the Bengals.
Yep.
But you know what I think that comes down to?
High, always.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. We need to find like a medium of what you and I do
every
here.
Time.
I think for me, it always boils down to it's Andy Dalton at quarterback, and I'm pissed off. If I was a fan of this team, I'd just be pissed off that they haven't made a move. And we keep, like, maybe I hear it more just as a Dolphins fan, but it was always, before the Rosen deal, it was tank for Tua, tank for Tua. Are the Bengals potentially one of these, like, teams that are flying under the radar as to maybe they're trying to build for the future? Because if you remember, when they were up to draft here in the first round, every quarterback besides Daniel Jones, let me rephrase that. Every draftable quarterback in the first round, counting Daniel Jones, was still on the board for them when they could have made their draft pick, and they opted to go another way. They went with the offensive line. They've got the young back in Mixon. They're still going to get some good years out of A.J. Green. They've been adding a couple of rushers the last few years on the defensive side of the ball. I really wouldn't rule out the fact that this team is sneakily trying to, like, be in a position to make that run for a franchise quarterback in 2020. I just don't expect anything from them this year.
Yeah, I probably am going to be too high on them like I always am.
And I'm probably going to be a little too low on them.
I think I had them going like 11-5 2 years ago, and they went like 4-12 or some shit. It was great.
Oh, the fucking Bengals. All right, we got one more division here in the AFC, and that is the South. And Vegas has the Colts at 9.5 wins.
Honestly, Colts are probably my favorite team AFC-wise, just like my favorite AFC team. Like, I don't know why, but I've just, for some reason, always been a Colts fan. And I told you last year, and I told all the listeners, Andrew Luck is going to be that guy. Like, let's not forget how fucking good he is. Because everybody was so, like, down. You held off on him. I'm like, trust me, you want this fucking guy. I was right. Like always, this is the normal. I was right about it. But I have to bet them to go over. Not only do they have T.Y. Hilton, and that's all he had last year, but now they added Devin Funchess. They added Paris Campbell in the draft. Marlon Mack is a baller. And then they have those two other running backs. They've added Justin Houston and Rocky Sin in the draft on defense. Andrew Luck has more weapons than he has for a long time. He's really fucking good. And let's not forget how incredible his offensive line was last year.
Yeah.
Like, incredible. If they can continue to do that, they have all the pieces right now. Like, they are a Super Bowl contender, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. And you said all you needed to say when you said Rocky Sin. I mean, it's over.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you draft that guy? Vegas says 9.5.
Easy.
What'd you say?
Double-digit wins easy.
Oh, yeah. Vegas says 9.5. Ben says 11.
Yeah.
Like, I said that I'm going to get to my most confident bet in the AFC, and we have reached it. It is the Indianapolis Colts. I had 3 teams in the AFC South when I went through every single schedule, hit double digits in my win predictions. But the Colts are the one that I feel like the most confident about. Man, that defense improved last year, like drastically. That offensive line improved last year, drastically. And now, like you said, there are no questions around the health of Andrew Luck. We know exactly who he is again. And like me and you kind of dogged Devin Funchess in the past. I don't mind adding him here.
I love Funchess. What are you talking about?
But you just like saying his name. Here's the thing, though. He doesn't have to be the number 1 receiver. That's T.Y. Hilton. And guess what? Andrew Luck is that quarterback that's going to make receivers better. I mean, he was balling with like Dontrell Inman last year and a couple other just random dudes. But man, they have 3 good running backs, 3 guys that can get it done. Marlon Mack, when he was actually handled like, here, be our workhorse, he was getting it done. You got 2 tight ends that can get it done. Yep. The defense has improved and good enough now. Man, Colts are my top bet. I'll bring you a quick sampling into our typical weekly preview podcast once the NFL season starts. 5 units, baby. That's our max. Me and DJ do unit bets. 5. Give me all the units on the Colts.
Oh, and this is another thing I was going to say. Let's talk just Eric Ebron for a second. How badly he was used in Detroit. Look at what happened when he came to play with Andrew Luck. Fucking, what do you have, like 12 touchdowns last year? I don't remember.
And he ran one in.
And he ran one in. But, like, if you think about that, Luck knows how to use his receivers and knows where they're the best. Eric Ebron was, like, best inside that red zone area. Funchess is also that guy. I wouldn't be surprised to see Funchess score. And I think he will be the most underdrafted wide receiver in fantasy football that I will reach for. I guarantee he scores 8 to 10 touchdowns last year, like Mike Williams style.
We're getting set to do our first round, basically, of fantasy football rankings, position by position. I went through and did quarterbacks last night. You talked about the Chiefs regressing, maybe a little bit of a Mahomes regress. Andrew Luck is my QB1 right now.
Holy tits.
I love me some Andrew Luck. He is my QB1 right now. So, yeah, I love this one. I'm betting over 5 units.
No one will guess who I'm going to have at QB1.
Surprise, surprise. I'm sure we'll hear about it in the next podcast.
Game of Thrones tonight.
Game of Thrones. There's your spoiler. Let's go on to the next team in the South. It is the Houston Texans. Vegas has them at 8.5.
I mean, I'm going to say under because I'm a Watson hater. And I still think this O-line is still bad, and he'll be crying a lot this year. I got to go under. And I haven't really added at the running back position. I don't know. I think that the offensive line struggles a lot. They did add in their secondary. I was looking through the roster because their secondary was trash last year. Like 31st against the pass, I think, or some shit last year. And they definitely have added a lot of guys in free agency. And then they clearly have J.J. Watt and, Jadeveon Clowney somehow still.
For now, anyways.
Right now. So I'm a Watson hater. I don't think he's that good. I'm gonna die on this hill.
On this Tyreek Hill?
Yes. I'm dying on it. I don't care. This is all about my gut. I didn't go through game by game. I just don't think the Texans are that good.
Yeah, the Texans. I guess I'm a little different on this one because the Texans were my second team in this division. I gave double-digit wins to. I had them going 10-6, so I guess I would take the over here. But yeah, it comes down to how is the offensive line going to work again this year? Are they going to be able to protect Deshaun Watson? The reason I think I like this win total the best though is because we saw Deshaun Watson get better as the season progressed, and now he's had an entire offseason, not just an offseason, but a healthy offseason where he can actually hone in and try to improve things. Whereas last offseason it was rehab, 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 and then let's try to learn and get better. This entire offseason has been healthy, and he's been able to really, hopefully, try to like master the system and get better as an actual quarterback. So I like that. But man, JJ Watt was dominant again last year. They need him to be healthy. They need him to perform. My hesitation with Houston is in that division that they play in, and whether or not that can they take some of those series where you play the same team two times, or are they going to split them all? Because if this division just kind of beats itself up, which we saw a little bit last year, getting to 8.5 wins could be a bit of a challenge because in this division, if they beat each other up, 9 to 10 wins could win it. I still think the Colts are the number one team, but I just think more often than not in this situation, I like Houston hitting at least 9, right around that 9 number. So I'm gonna have to go over
Dirty slut.
30. We got two teams left, and Vegas has both of these teams at the same win total, but we'll start with the Jaguars at 8 wins.
I mean, I have to go under. I look at this team and I'm like, is Nick Foles really the guy that's going to put you over like the hump? Nick Foles is not a good regular season. I don't think he's a good quarterback, but he definitely is a terrible regular season QB. We've seen what he is. To me, he is what he is. We saw some miracle run in the Super Bowl, but the magic does not happen in the regular season. And this is a team that just runs the ball constantly. Like, how long is that going to just work for you? It's not. It stopped working last year. They refuse to open it up, add more offensive weapons at wide receiver. Guys are just going to load the box, hashtag loaded box, and you can't just always rely on this defense. I don't like any of how they're playing, how they're trying to play in this now's NFL. It's just not going to work. I hate their scheme. I hate what they're doing. I hate it, and they got rid of Blake Bortles, so obviously they're dumbasses. So, yeah, way under for me.
Way under for you. So the Jaguars were the third team that I gave double digits to, but I'm still here to tell you why I wouldn't bet the over despite me going over on 2 wins. I think I'm giving the defense too much credit, especially without Telvin Smith. That news kind of came out of left field
Yeah.
earlier this week. Like, he's sitting out the entire season, most likely, anyways. And man, I think I'm giving Nick Foles a little bit too much credit, despite the fact that I'm with you. I think he's more like Nick Foles is the ideal backup that you want. Like, you don't want him to be your everyday starter, but you don't mind like if your quarterback goes out for 3 to 4 weeks, you don't mind that he's the next guy in line that you can have. And I think we're here because of that magic run that he went on. Like, at some point he's gonna fall back to what he is. We've just seen we saw it 2 years ago when he took him to the Super Bowl and led the team basically through the entire playoffs, got MVP, and then last year he came in the last 3 games, got him into the playoffs, made a little bit of noise. It's like, man, that all that did was just get him a contract and give him a shot in Jacksonville. And you did not want to be the team that was going to pay him to be the starting quarterback. Like, good for him, good for Nick Foles. If it works out, great. Oh, I don't like that move. Like, I wouldn't like the direction my team is going right now if I were the Jaguars.
Yeah, I mean, I do look at their defense. It's nasty. Obviously,
Yeah.
they added Josh Allen
Yeah.
with like Miles Jack and Calais Campbell and Marcel Darius and that fucking
Jalen
Gaku
Ramsey.
guy. They're so good. Like, their defense is so good. But I look at his offense and like Leonard Fournette can't stay healthy. Offensive line isn't great. All they do is run. They don't really have wide receivers to open it up. So what they're gonna do is they're just gonna continue to try to run the ball, and that's just not gonna work. And it's just a terrible way to run an offense.
Yeah. Let's look at the last team. They also have an over/under at 8. It's the Tennessee Titans. What do you have here?
Jeez, I just realized who the Jaguars' backup quarterback is.
Well, they just released like Cody Kessler, didn't they?
Yeah, Tanner Lee, it says right now, and that guy played at Nebraska, and he sucked. And he played for Nebraska. All right, where are we at?
Tennessee over/under 8.
I gotta go under because I can never trust a team that doesn't even know who their quarterback is.
Right.
Like, who's their quarterback? Is it gonna be Mariota, or did they bring Tannehill in to start, or to compete and actually give them a chance to start? Who knows? And if it seems like a team that's just gonna go back and forth, right? One's gonna suck like for a couple weeks, and another one's gonna come in, and then Tannehill's gonna suck, and then Mariota's gonna come in, and nobody's gonna know who their quarterback
It'd be
is.
like Winston and Fitzpatrick all over again.
Exactly. It just seems like a team, and this team, the Tennessee Titans team, is a teams who just like they hang in limbo where they should just scrap everything and start over.
Bingo.
Like, just start over. They're not a good team. They're not going to get good enough with what they have with their core. They need their defense, their secondary isn't good. It hasn't been for a long while. They just need to restart. Like, they need to hit the reset button, get rid of those fucking quarterbacks, or keep one and then get a young guy in there. Like, there's no point in bringing in Ryan Tannehill with Mariota. What's the point? What is that? I don't understand it.
It's the same thing we just kind of mentioned with the Eagles. Like, you don't want him to be your starter, but Mariota is already questionable, probably right now.
Guys.
What's that?
I just don't understand why you bring two average quarterbacks in to compete with each other.
I think it's just because I don't think they're competing. I think it's Mariota's gig, and I think they're just like, well, Mariota's going to have an ankle after week 1. We got to bring in a guy that can somewhat do it.
But it doesn't make any sense because Mariota's not the guy. Tannehill is probably a little bit better than Mariota in my eyes.
See, I think this is the make or break year for Mariota. Like, if he can't get it done based on what they've surrounded him with, like, this is it. What?
He's done. Like, bring in a young guy and then let him play behind. The Tannehill just doesn't make any sense.
Well, maybe they're just kind of trying to cross the bridge until they can get to these next couple of quarterback classes where they actually have some prospects that aren't like, well, maybe they're guys. Like, there's maybe sure things, but who knows? Yeah, I surprised myself with this one, man. I went through the games and gave them 5 wins. Like, I felt bad doing that. But after everything we just talked about, I feel pretty confident in it. I like the under here. Man, we already talked a lot about the stuff I was going to talk about here. What pains me about this, why it was surprising, is because I like Derrick Henry. I love me some Corey Davis. I love me some A.J. Brown. I don't mind the core of tight ends they have there with Jonnu Smith. He just needs to stay healthy, give him a couple of opportunities. I have zero faith right now in Marcus Mariota, and it's exactly what I just said. Like, this is make or break. You need to see, like, they have done so much in trying to, like, bring in people around him. They've got a pretty good offensive line. They brought in Deion Lewis a couple of years back to give him a little thunder lightning punch. They got the first round pick in Corey Davis. They added a second round guy in A.J. Brown. Like, they are surrounding him with people. Is it the fact that Mariota's not a good quarterback, or is it that we've never been able to fully see what he can do with these pieces because he's not on the field? And he's always questionable, and he's never like 100% himself. This is the year he needs to stay healthy. They need to see what he can do. Otherwise, they're the next Dolphins. And now they're like really the next Dolphins because they brought in Tannehill and Cam Wake. Like, they need to see what they have here, and they can't just stick in limbo, like you said. They're just floating around like, are we going to try to compete with what we have, or are we just going to be stuck with what we have? They need to know. I'll steal this from another radio show. You want 16-0, you want 0-16. You don't want 8-8. You are just stuck. You don't know what you have.
Yep. I don't like this team at all. I can't. I just don't trust them. I can't bet under for a team that you don't trust.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't bet over for a team that you don't trust.
Do you have any other things you want to talk about, or should we break until next?
I'm upset because I'm going to try to go upstairs and take a nap, and that's right when my son's going to be waking up, and it's going to be the worst.
Happy Mother's Day. It's your job today.
Yep.
I love it. Well, as always, hit us up on Twitter at Loaded Box. Check out our website for all of our podcasts, our blogs, our fantasy rankings, NFL draft coverage, everything. It's at loadedboxpodcast.com. Our next episode will be basically the same as this one. However, instead of the 16 teams from the AFC, we will be doing those in the NFC. We're available on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. With that, DJ, send us out.
Bye.
Aaron Rodgers is going to die on Game of Thrones.